صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الغرر الميامين، سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وهجته إلى الخلائق أجمعين، سيدنا وإمام زماننا وصاحب نعمتنا وولي أمرنا مهدي هذه الأمة وطووس أهل الجنة الحجة بن الحسن العسكري فداء وأرواح العالمين. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
One of the most difficult tasks that we undergo as a human being is raising children. The necessity that is there is that you need these children to continue civilization, but then at the same time the responsibility as a parent is so great that depending on how you raise your children, in essence, you're paving the future of this world. And it is not something that needs to be taken lightly. It's something that has the utmost importance. So inshallah today I'd like to talk a little bit about a few things that we need to take into consideration when we are raising our children, a few narrations from the Holy Prophet and his family about how we should raise our children, and a few points that we should emphasize on when we are raising our children. There's many examples we're going to use, there's many stories we're going to use just so that we can put everything into perspective. So to begin, we start off with a narration from the Holy Prophet of Islam sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
The Holy Prophet has said that a child's life can be split into three portions. The first portion is from his birth till the age of 7. Now in this portion the Prophet says, treat the child like a king. Now I'm going to spend some time just talking about this portion because this is in essence the most important part. Because if you get this right, then the next one will automatically fix itself, and the third one, and so on and so forth. If you mess up from the first obstacle, then it gets harder and harder to tackle the hurdles coming ahead. So 0 till 7, he's a king. Now what does he mean by that? He means don't instill your religion into him. Don't force him to do this and don't force him to do that. He's a child, let him be a child. He's going to make mistakes, let him make those mistakes. Let him learn from those mistakes. If you start putting a lot of laws and guidelines on a child before he reaches the age of 7, in essence what you're doing is you're taking his childhood away from him. So when he gets to the ages of 17 and 18, that's when they start acting out. And we look at the story of Karbala, and we look at people such as Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan, who was at the age of 14. And when Abu Abdullah said to him, that how do you view death? And he said, oh uncle, I view death sweeter than honey. A 14-year-old is saying this. The majority of the children that were killed in the Battle of Karbala, at the ages of 12, 13, 14, 15, but when we look at the way they composed themselves, when we look at the way they spoke, and we look at the way they acted, they far surpass their age. But in today's time, we could have a 25 and a 26-year-old that acts like a 9-year-old. We can have people coming up to the ages of 30, but intellect-wise, religious knowledge-wise, their behavior, their akhlaq is not as good as that of a 12-year-old. So the first thing the Prophet is saying is from the ages of birth till your child reaches the age of 7, let him be free, let him be a king, listen to him. If he does something, allow him to do it. If he's doing something that Islam doesn't allow, don't be harsh to him, because this is his time to be open, this is his time to be a child. The next stage then is from the ages of 8 till the ages of 15. This is where you mold his personality. This is where Islamic law comes in. There's a narration from Rasulullah in which he states, from the ages of 8 till the age of 15, this is when you teach your child about halal and haram. And you teach your child about your religion. One of the most important things that I'd like to say is when it comes to educating your child, this again is the period where your child learns the most. Amir al-Mu'mineen has said that a child's mind, it's like an uncultivated piece of land. Whatever seed you put down, that is what will grow. So you decide what type of seeds you want to plant now. You decide what type of field you want, what type of things you want on that field. It's entirely in your hands. But when it comes to education, there's one thing that we do, even in this country, in the United States, in Europe, all over the world really, is we put more emphasis on secular education than we do on religious education. And there's nothing wrong with putting emphasis on secular education. At the end of the day, when you have a child, you put them in private schools, you put them in private universities, the best and the best of education systems. Why? Because you want to give them a head start in life. So when they graduate, they get a good job. When they get a good job, they can earn some good amount of income. And with that, they can live a good life. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But what we need to put emphasis on is the religious education as well. This world is temporary. Amir al-Mu'mineen has said this world is like a tunnel. That's it. It's just passing from one destination to another. Don't get attached to this world so much that you don't see beyond it. This is the time to educate your child from the age of 8 to the ages of 15. This is where you start instilling the laws, teaching them about namaz, teaching them about fasting, teaching them about halal, haram, what they can do, what they can't do. But the main thing that the Prophet emphasizes in this hadith is he says, do not use force or violence. Because when you force your child to do something, it's obvious, we know they're going to go the other way. Don't make prayer, fasting, abiding to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seem like a difficult thing for your child. Don't make them think that they have to do this, and if they don't, they're going to get hit. Because then in essence, what you're doing is psychologically, you're affecting that child's attachment to the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as he grows up, he'll grow more and more away from it. So spend more time educating your children. We put money aside for secular education. Why don't we put money aside for religious education as well? Let's teach them the basics at that age, so when they grow up, these are the next generation. This is the future generation. So from 0 till 7, allow them to be free. Don't force them to do things. Don't start making them pray at that age or things like that. Let them be free, let them be a child. From 8 till 15, then start instilling the laws, but in a good educational way. As the importance that you put on secular education, put that on religious education as well. Yes, he knows maths, he knows science, he's good at English literature, but does he know how to perform wudu? Does he know how to pray? Because on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question you on the deeds of your children as well. There's a story from Nabi Isa alayhi salam in which it states that one day he's walking past a graveyard. And he stops next to this grave, and we believe that our prophets can look past this physical realm, and they can look into the spiritual realm as well. So Nabi Isa looks at this grave, and he looks through our physical, and he looks straight, and he sees that the person in the grave is being punished. So he walks past, because if he's being punished, there must be a reason. A year later, when he's returning back from his journey, he comes past the same graveyard and he walks past the same grave. But this time when he looks inside, he sees that that person is not being punished anymore. So he raises his hands in supplication and says, "Oh Allah, when I came past here a year ago, he was being punished. Now he isn't. Could you please tell me what's happened in that gap?" Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to Nabi Isa that in that 1 year, his child has started to pray for forgiveness for his father. He's starting to pray on time. He's starting to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. And it's because of his child's actions, Allah is showing more mercy on this person in his grave. So our children, after we pass away, can still benefit us only if we put the work in first ourselves. So the first is 0 till 7, the second is 8 till 15. And 15 onwards, the Prophet says this is where you benefit from the work that you put in during the first and second stage. From 15 onwards, your child should be a friend to you. Talk to them. I think that in this country especially, children go through a lot. And each generation will go through different things than the previous generation. Amir al-Mu'mineen has said, do not raise your children in such a way that you were raised. For surely they were made for a different time and a different era. Talk to your children. If they're going through something and they're acting out, talk to them, sit with them, ask them what's going on. Communicate with them. They could have 1,000 things on their mind. And if you had just taken 1 minute out of your busy schedule and sat down with your child and asked him what was going on, that could have been the difference to the path that your child leads in life. So there's 3 stages. Keep those stages where they are. Let them be free. Teach them Islam, and then be a friend to them. So religion is something that we need to let our children know. Because in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that until you reach the age of puberty, Islamic laws do not apply to you. That's fair enough. So until a boy reaches the ages of 14 or 15, or until a girl reaches the ages of 8 or 9, the laws of Islam do not apply. But that doesn't mean you can't slowly get them ready for it. Because you don't want your son to wake up one day on his 15th birthday and all of a sudden the laws of Islam are now wajib and he doesn't know what to do. Because you as a parent will be responsible for that. So ease him into it slowly, answer his questions, bring him upon this path. And the Prophet has also said 3 things that you should instill this in your children. The first thing is discipline your child in such a way that he has the love of Rasulullah in his heart. That's the first thing. Because a lot of benefits come from this. When we instill the love of Rasulullah in the heart of a person, the aftermath of that is such that then they look at the Prophet. And in our first and second lecture that I gave, we spoke about what the Prophet did as a young man. We spoke about what the Prophet did in his early teens. And we spoke about how he was Sadiq and Ameen and how he proved his actions first. Your child, when he loves the Prophet, is going to emulate the Prophet. He's going to follow the Prophet. And what better example do we have than Rasulullah on this earth? For no man other than Rasulullah is the greatest creation that was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that surpasses all of creation. So he says the first thing is put my love in the hearts of your children. The second thing he says, put the love of my Ahlul Bayt in the hearts of your children as well. And the third thing is teach your children to recite the Quran. We know that at the event of Ghadir, the Prophet said, Inni tarikum fikum muthakalain. He said that I am leaving you 2 weighty things. He said it is the Quran and my itrat Ahlul Bayt. Some of us have grabbed the Quran and we've left the Ahlul Bayt. Some of us have held the Ahlul Bayt but we've left the Quran. The Prophet was very clear in which he said 2 weighty things. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam has written a book known as the Treatise of Rights, Salat al-Haqooq. In there he talks about the rights that a mother has, the rights that a father has, the rights that children have, the rights that your body has, the rights that your neighbors have. And he goes through a lot of different rights. In there he talks about the rights of a child. So your child has a right upon you as a parent. And what is that? He said the first thing, the first right that your child has upon you is that you give him a good name. Because your name is what's going to affect you. We have many narrations from the Ahlul Bayt where they say when you choose a name of a child, choose one carefully, because that name will have an effect on the character of that child. Second, instill the love of the Ahlul Bayt in their heart. And Imam Zain al-Abidin said the third thing, teach your children the Quran. It's His right upon you. If your child cannot read the Quran on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you as a parent, why did you not teach your child the Quran? So your children have rights upon you. And inshallah, like I said, Muharram is a platform to start again. Muharram is a chance for us to erase everything that we've done and start afresh again. And make a promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from today, we're going to change. So for those who have children, inshallah, depending on which age group they're in, please advise them according to what our Prophet has said. And if you don't have children, then you listen even more carefully, because by the time you have children, you'll be ready. And bring your children to the mosque. This is a narration from Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, bring your children to the mosque. Now with this, I'd like to talk about this in a bit more depth. Bring your children to the mosque. Now this doesn't mean bring them to the mosque and then leave them, forget them, let them wander around and then later on pick them up. Bring them to the mosque and sit them down. Yes, in some lectures a child may get up from there and walk across there, but who cares? That's fine. We should be more happy with the fact that the child is here to begin with, as opposed to being at home. When you bring them to the mosque, leave them with positive memories. They say, psychologically speaking, that a child, when he goes through things in life, when he grows up, certain memories will stick with them forever. Do not make religion a negative memory. Make it a positive one. So for example, there's a world-renowned speaker by the name of Syed who I respect highly and greatly. He was giving a lecture and he spoke about something, and there he said every Friday he used to take his children to the mosque. Because they used to have a program in which he used to give a lecture. But he said after that lecture, we'd all go for ice cream. So he knew it, his kids knew it. Every Friday it's mosque, and then it's ice cream. Now the fact that they went as a family to go towards ice cream, it made them look forward to going to the mosque. And then it left a positive image in their mind. So now when these kids grow up, when they think about the mosque, they're going to think about ice cream. It's a happy thing. Our family got together, we tried different flavors. But what did we do before that? We went to the mosque. Psychologically, it leaves them with a positive outcome. When you come to the mosque and you go home, that journey is very, very important of how you treat your child. Don't shout at them on the way home. Don't show, if you're angry as a human, you go through anger, that's fine. But don't lash out at your children when returning back from the mosque. Because then they can associate that anger with going to the mosque. And then when they grow up, in their minds, when they think mosque, or my dad used to shout at me when we used to come back from the mosque, or my mum used to hit me when we used to come back from the mosque, and then they associate that and it becomes a negative thing. So make it into a positive thing. Today we're going to talk about the musibah of Ali ibn al-Askar. So before I begin, if you could recite a salawat. So this extract is taken from the books of the Muqtal. They say that when Imam Hussein was left all alone, and there was nobody left to help him, he looked across the battlefield and he saw nothing but dead bodies. He looked towards the skies and he cried out, "Ala hal min nasirin yansurna." Is there anybody that will come and help me? Is there anybody that will come and protect me? They say that before Imam said his last farewell, his sister Zainab brought him his infant Ali Askar, a 6-month child of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And Zainab said to him, "Oh Hussein, this child is dying out of thirst. If you could please get some water for this child." The Imam held his son and he headed towards the battlefield. When he arrived, he said to them that if you could please give a few drops of water to this child. So the enemy huddled amongst each other to think about whether they wanted to give this child water or not. And the Imam called out at that time that you have killed my brothers and you have killed my companions, you have killed my children and you have killed my family members, but what has this 6-month child done to you? If you're afraid that I will drink water for myself, then I can place this child on the ground and move back, and you can come and quench his thirst. When none of them replied, the books say that Abu Abdullah then raised Ali al-Askar up towards the skies. And he stuck out his tongue. The 6-month baby stuck out his tongue. His dry tongue had such an effect on the enemy that they began thinking, what are we even doing? 1 or 2 members of the enemy's camp began to say, shall we give this boy water? When Umar ibn Sa'd seen that my own army might turn against me, he ordered Harmala to fire an arrow to silence that baby. And it was at this moment when Abu Abdullah al-Hussein stood in his spot. A 3 prolonged arrow that's used to take down a camel was fired at the neck of Ali ibn al-Askar. فَذَهَبَهُ مِنَ الْوَرِيدِ إِلَى الْوَرِيدِ. It pierced through the child's neck from one end to the other. I ask you, Muslims, how big is a child's neck? A few inches? How big is a camel's neck? This arrow that was used was a 3 prolonged arrow that was used to take down camels. The narrations say that at that moment the Imam then scooped the blood that was dripping from the neck of his son and he threw it up towards the skies. Imam al-Baqir said that none of those drops came back down to this earth. This was Imam Hussein's special sacrifice and offering to Allah the Almighty. The Imam then says, what makes me bear this is, oh Allah, I know that you are watching. He then picked up his son and started going towards the tents. This is when Abu Abdullah walked forward 7 times and he walked back 7 times. And he repeated, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily we have come from God and unto God we shall return. We are happy with His will and we carry out His command. Why did Abu Abdullah do this? Why did he move forward 7 times and back 7 times? Because the mother of Ali ibn al-Askar was in the tent, eagerly waiting for her baby to come back. And she had a question in her mind, has the quench of my child been? How is Abu Abdullah going to show her what the arrow of Harmala has done to the neck of a 6-month baby? They say that after this incident took place, the Imam, the only person in Karbala that was given a grave, was Ali ibn al-Askar. But I ask you, Muslims, how long did this grave last? The Imam went behind the tent and he built a grave and he placed Ali ibn al-Askar in that grave. He then put all the khak of Karbala on top of him. But then they noticed that once the battle was finished, once the heads were being collected, once the heads were being raised on spears, a few men came to Umar ibn Sa'd and they said, wasn't there 72? He said, yes there was. Why? He says, well we have 71 heads. 1 head is missing. So they spoke amongst each other, which head is that? And someone said it is the head of the 6-month baby of Hussein, Ali ibn Askar. They said, do you know where he is? Someone said, we've seen Hussein take him to the back of the tents. So what did these people do? They began grabbing their spears and sticking them into the ground. They started sticking their spears into the ground to locate this baby. And then the book says that at one moment a man stuck his spear into the ground, and as he pulled it out, the body of Ali ibn al-Askar came out. They then severed the head of Ali ibn al-Askar and placed it on the spears. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayyun qalbin qalbun.